Do you have a brilliant startup idea but are stuck in the launching phase? Are you feeling overwhelmed by funding, marketing, or just where to start? Don't let your startup idea stay grounded. Visit our website at eapla.com to schedule a Blue Couch meeting and launch your startup journey today.
Welcome back to On the Cusp, Season 8. I never thought we'd be at 8, okay? I got my co-host Matt Snyder back with me. Matt,
Thank you,
welcome.
Dave.
And today's a really special episode because we've got Kyle and Lauren Baudoin, okay, with M. And welcome to the show. And tell us what you guys do.
Well, it all started with M. It's been open. We're actually celebrating 12 years next week. And we're a women's clothing store, kind of right around the corner from Superior Steakhouse. We do sell high-end women's clothing, shoes, accessories, gifts. And then about, how many years?
We'll be 7 next month.
7 years ago, we moved up and opened Ellie and Chalk. And Kyle runs Ellie and Chalk, and he's specializes in that department.
Two entrepreneurs, a couple, I mean, that is unique. I mean, I'm sitting here while you're talking, trying to think of other couples that both husband and wife run their own business.
It's crazy.
I mean, that is wild, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And that you did it once, and then you were like, "Oh, Kyle,
I'm a glutton for torture."
Yeah. Kyle, I'll help you do it. I'm like, great idea.
I really love that because one of the challenges we have in the accelerator is we've had a lot of husband, wife, brother, sister teams come in. And one of the questions I always ask them is, how do you break a tie?
You know, so M is 50-50, my mother and I.
Okay.
And she had probably one of the first boutiques here in Shreveport. It was the Pink Cactus. It was in a little pink house down on Uri Drive. And it was like maybe, I don't know, mid-'80s. And she had that for 13 years and then moved away and kind of wanted to come back, but didn't really want to mess with the back end. And I'm a accountant. And I was like, I'll do all that. You do the front. So we're 50-50. And, you know, when we go to market, our tiebreaker is like decision-wise. Well, I'm more financial, so I kind of, anything financial, I trump on that. Anything merchandising and store-related front of the house, kind of, that's her trump. And then at market, when we're like buying, it's, would you wear that every day until it sells? And then
It's like, oh.
and if the answer,
I love that
the
idea.
answer is yes, then it's like, yes, I would. And then it's like, that means we really need it.
Oh,
If the
that
answer
is
is
so-
like, I don't know, it's like, all right, I think we're going to put that
I
one
ask
back.
everybody I always ask everybody as they go into these as entrepreneurs with their partner, figure out what the tiebreaker is. Because you can't afford to be in business and all of a sudden have to make a hard decision and not know how you're going to do it.
That's awesome that Laura could like answer that question. Like, here is the tiebreaker.
You're the first one
When you work with family,
That's
you got to
awesome.
figure out a tiebreaker.
Yes.
I don't know if we figured out
On
a
the husband and
tiebreaker
wife
yet.
side, it's usually
a little,
like,
it's a little
okay.
trickier.
Yeah.
Oh, that is good.
I think it's awesome that, like, I mean, I've worked with y'all on a lot of different things. Like, you both have your things. You're focusing on M and then leaning support for Kyle if he needs it, and the same way, vice versa. But you're both kind of working your lane.
It's definitely opening it whenever we said, okay, we were convinced or we decided to do the men's clothing store, knowing that the background that they had on the retail side was awesome for me. But going into it, I think we thought that the women's side and the men's side, there would be more of a overflow, more of an understanding of how it is. But it's really two different worlds.
They are two different
It's
worlds.
completely different.
So you're saying men buy different than women?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, their spending habits are different. The way they buy is different. They're just different. Like everything, the industry, the men's industry is way different than the women's, and
Yeah.
so it's been a learning.
I'm going to try to
curve.
get every possible thing I can out of that garment. You know,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jamie, my wife, you know, is very, very different approach.
Oh, yeah,
We're a
Carolina will
lot
be
more
like, I wore that
emotional.
on the last trip.
That's right.
Like, I can't wear that again. Like,
Yeah, guys, we're very of the moment. Either it's a date night or a special occasion or a holiday or wore it out to death and just need another pair. It's usually for a reason. And the women on the women's side, it's could be just Friday, just
Okay.
want to go and grab something.
So what has been your experience in marketing in Shreveport, Bossier? Because a lot of people come to us and they think they're going to be 100% successful with social media. And I keep telling them, no, I don't think that's going to win everything. All right. What do you think the challenges are in marketing here?
Challenge, and just in general, is in today's society, you have to be real. You have to be yourself. You have to present exactly kind of what you are and what you do and how it is. On the M side, from day one, you did billboards, static billboards from day one for 12 years, and we've done the same thing for Ellie and Chalk. It's something that, yes, we do social media, we're heavy on it, but when people walk in the door, oh, how'd you hear? Man, I see your billboards. Oh, how'd you hear? Yeah,
We
no,
run
it's
a
not
few
cheap. Yeah.
at the Accelerator. We run a few billboards, the digital ones. Great pricing the way they do that. You can't beat it.
I think what they do, and Kyle, you like touched it, and I just want to highlight it because y'all do such a good job. When I meet with people and they don't want their selves on their brand, that is like a big problem for me to figure out, I feel like, from a marketing standpoint. When I'm like, hey, you guys know a lot of people in this industry and you're known and you're trusted. Can we use you? And they're like, oh no, man, I want to keep the brand totally separate from me. That's hard. And y'all have totally embraced that, like, you are the brand. And I think a lot of the people we kind of associate with that own companies are that way. And I think people respond to that. I mean,
Well, and in small business,
We're your neighbor.
yeah,
It's
we are
relatable.
your neighbor, but it was also, I'm free, right? Like I'm in the business as far as being on a billboard or being on social media or whatever. It's certainly not what I aim to do or want to do. It's just it's quick, it's easy, it's there, and I'm
I know,
free.
dude, some of those billboards, I'm like, come on, Kyle. Like, come on.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I mean, we're always out looking for
You're
new people
so
or friends
good
in the
at,
shop.
at
and-
like doing the funny billboards.
yeah, I mean, right now we've got me and Mac Dog on the building, our
I
dog. But it's one of those things like, you know what? Let's do it. And we do all our own marketing and advertising and social media and all that in-house. So,
So you keep it in-house.
Yeah.
You've done a
we can
great
do it.
job on the online sales piece too. That's very hard for local businesses to kind of capture.
And that's something that has to be an arm for us, for sure. But that's ever rotating when it comes to the billboards. I think we can control that, and we know who our customer base is. Whereas online, I mean, that's always more difficult to, once you figure it out, to get your reach out there, they change an algorithm, or
Yeah.
so you really have to stay on that.
Okay.
So, Lauren, now you're from Shreveport.
I am.
So you're from
Born
here.
and raised.
Okay.
Not born, but
That's
raised,
not
yeah.
the case for you.
No.
Where are you from?
I'm from Maurice, went to school in Abbeville, so just south of Lafayette.
Okay, all right. And one of the interesting things about our region is I think we struggle with an identity. If I go to Lafayette or Acadiana, okay, there is no question, okay, that it's Acadiana. They got their own little pin, their own little symbol. They hammer it.
Their own language.
They're,
I mean, they're
have
saying something. I have no idea what they're telling me to do.
Their culture is part of that. Where do you see us in Northwest Louisiana? What do you think about that?
That was, I mean, she lived there long enough as well. We met in college there, so she understands that region and that culture. But it's how you grow up, there. Daddy was a French interpreter. That's how he retired. But that was his first language. That was my parents' first language, my grandparents' first. So it's intertwined in what you do. I'm sorry.
No, that's quite all right. We love it.
Yeah. It's part of it. In the food, in the culture, in the music, it's just kind of how it is. Up here, it's it's different in not a bad way. It's just how it's always been because you've grown up that way. Here, being in that Arkansas, Texas kind of region, it's got its own vibe. You just can't quite put your finger on it, and it's not a pin. It's not. I've enjoyed it. Shreveport has been really good to us. It's been a great place to raise our family, but it's its own deal that I think people are always searching for this, number 100 out of 100 knock on this is how it should be, and it doesn't have to be that. It can be Laura, it can be Kyle, it can be Matt, it can be all of us. It doesn't have to be this specific thing.
And that's probably what it really is that it's not South Louisiana, it's not Dallas, it's kind
not
of
New Orleans.
It's got the influence of all those places. So it kind of is. I mean, really, what I was thinking about driving around the other day, that like you've seen all these studies, different groups have brought all these people in to come up with the new saying, and I've seen it happen probably 5 times in my adult life. But whoever in 50 Cent's group that came up with all roads lead to Shreveport, that's the best one I've ever heard ever.
Yeah,
Because
it is
that's
true.
really the truth of it.
It is.
All roads lead to Shreveport, and that's kind of what we're saying. It's people from Arkansas, it's people from Dallas, Texas, East Texas, it's people from South Louisiana. And so you're melding all those cultures.
I'm amazed how many people, how kind of regional Shreveport is. Do you get this? I mean, some of my best customers are from small towns in East Texas. Most of my best customers. A lot of them are from Ruston, they're from Monroe, they're from Minden, they're from all there in between, and you don't really... You know, when I lived in Lafayette, we lived, in Lafayette, and there was the surrounding areas, and it was kind of the hub, they called it the hub city. I never really, growing up here, I took into account all those little areas, but they're coming, and this is where they're coming.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a hub here as well.
It is. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that Shreveport, Bossier is the economic center of North Louisiana.
Yes, I agree.
And East Texas and South
Yes.
Arkansas. I mean, that circle you're talking about, and we talk about this a lot, that because of different reasons, it gets cut off at the state line a lot. But our numbers are always skewed because of that.
Our economic development
people
numbers
don't
are
live by
always
state
skewed.
lines. They don't
Right,
care.
right.
They live,
Yeah,
you know.
Alexandria.
Yeah, are they going to, just because they live in Wascom, are they going to Dallas? No, they're coming to
Yeah,
Shreveport.
absolutely.
I mean,
Right.
Absolutely. The same thing with Texarkana. Okay. I have a restaurant guy that we're working with. He's got people just like you. I love it when you said that. He's got people from Ruston, Monroe, Texarkana, East Texas driving to go to his restaurant. Okay, that he never thought that would happen, but it's working, and that's okay. So we're happy for him.
The other thing about Shreveport too, and I've never felt this back home, but we just went on summer vacation. We weren't there 3 hours. We go to the restaurant, we eat dinner, we walk out, and there's 2 people from Shreveport.
Oh yeah, always.
I mean,
Yeah.
in the men's clothing industry, in the women's industry, I mean, we meet people all the time that have a tie to this area. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, my dad grew up here. My dad, all the time, and I don't
Yeah.
really feel like I got that anywhere else, or didn't live.
I was
like
in
that.
New York City, walking down the street, saw a cool display of shoes in a window, and I was like, I'm always looking for. I walked in there, start talking to the guy, and he's like, "Where you from?" And Kathleen's like, "Oh, North Louisiana," and he's like, "Oh, like near Shreveport?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Shreveport." And he's like, "The Ratchet City?" And I'm like, "We're not really trying," but this is in New York City in Soho. I'm like, "What is it?" I mean, you meet people. I think we think of Shreveport as so small to everywhere else.
Yeah.
But I feel like
It's got ties.
most people know where Shreveport is
Yeah.
when you're
Yep.
when you're visiting with people.
I agree.
So when y'all got started, tell us what was your first really big hurdle you had to get over? Your first really big challenge. I know that's a tough question. I catch you off guard, but what do you think that was? Because and the reason I give you some time to think about it is a lot of people come into us. They want to start a business. They know something about the business, but they hit that first hurdle, and they want to throw their arms up, and it's like, no, this is just the beginning. You're going to learn to pivot. You're going to learn, how to shift and do all those things, because you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it.
I guess I'll go first. For me, it was the lack of knowledge of the industry. I mean, I've been in the oil field, I've trained dogs, I've done different things. So coming into this, it was more for me about the brands and the people behind the brands and the building and the craftsmanship and talking about what I did know and what I did enjoy and why I chose these things, not necessarily the fabrics or the fits or the styles. So for me, it was the knowledge of why things were the way they what's a knit, what's exactly linen versus these other made
Well,
up.
and some background behind that is that, we opened this together and we moved up here the summer before it opened. And I had M with my mom, like I said, but I always did everything from home, like all the advertising and the finances and everything. My kids were real little, so we would just come up here for like a week at a time, stay with her, come back down. I did a lot of things in the background. And the conversation was always like, we probably need to get up there. It's getting too much for just her, and what would he do here? Well, so we kind of blindly moved up here. We now have our family up here, kids in school. He's doing retail, I'm doing retail, and I think he thought he was going to get a lot more support. But we were so busy that he just kind of got thrown into the fire. So your hurdle was probably just like, I don't know, I'm busy too, figure it out.
Yeah.
And he did,
Yeah.
And I was always there in the background, but it wasn't like I wasn't in there every day,
And your
keeping shop
base
with you.
of friends and Shreveport and your family,
Yeah.
that had to help.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've known, like, when you were saying that story, I was like, wait, that's how it happened? I feel like I've known you forever and you've been around in all those groups.
What's funny is
forever.
I'm from here, but everywhere we go, he knows everybody.
Right.
I'm just a little more introverted, I guess, but you know.
But it's just I'm on the floor selling,
Yeah.
and you're
In the
there
back.
sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's just I may not remember your name, but I'll remember your face.
Yeah.
for sure. So it's definitely a lot of that. But no, it was a whirlwind when that decision came to move up here and do this, and as far as our family and the kids being young, like there was a lot of pros for us, but yeah, the cons I think was just
Well, and then
wait, what do I do when this happens? What do I do?
Yeah.
Make it work.
the funny story, or interesting enough, Ellie and Chalk became because of the building. So we had looked to purchase that building for M maybe 2 years in before we expanded. And the owner and I were kind of talking, and it was like, I don't know yet. And he held on to it, he didn't sell it. And then he came to me a couple of years later, and we had already expanded. We had outgrown the building. And he's like, this is the last, do you want it? And it was like, oh, but I really like the building. What could we do there? And that's kind of how we, the concept. And we had talked about men's clothing before, and he was like, nope. And I had cancer the year before. I think he felt sorry for me. So he finally said yes. I really did. I was like, I got it. This is what we're going to do. And he was like,
Laura
oh.
really had to sacrifice
Yeah.
for
I
you
did.
to get your
To get
stuff
him to
together.
Shreveport.
Kyle, let's go.
No, but I woke up one morning, I'm like, I know what we're going to do in that building. We talked about like a teen store, a lower end women's clothing store, all kinds of stuff, gift shops. It was just because I don't know why.
Well,
we just
had
felt a good
thrown out
connection.
the men's idea.
He'd always
but
said no, but he said yes that time.
and when I said, okay, and she just
I just looked at him like, oh, okay. So
let's figure it out
That
and see
is
if
a
it can
great
work. So
story.
that's
So what would you tell? What would you say to somebody? I don't care what industry it is. What would you tell an entrepreneur that came to you and said, "I want to start this business in Shreveport"?
for me, it still always boils down to the people behind things. So every person in their lifestyle and their situation is going to be a little different. Us, we had kids. Some people don't or want to start something while they're still single. So I do think just that alone gives you two different mindsets. I've always said I wish I'd have put my kids into our business plan. Time, energy, all that. On a single side, if there was one thing that I could say, put your costs high and your revenues low, figure it out. And if you say, I will work this job, kind of with her mom and her as far as choosing clothes, but if you can say that I will work 6 days a week for 5 years to get this thing off the ground, and if you can okay that, well, then go for it. Because it may be better than that, but it may not be.
That's good advice. Absolutely.
I mean, a cool thing that I just thought of while we were sitting here, but like you deserve this credit, and I don't think very many people know this. Like the fact that you had a guy work for you and that he went and opened a store in Charleston, South Carolina. I mean, and you're 7.5 years into this, and you've got a guy that you taught the ropes, and he's gone to, I mean, dude, what a huge, you deserve a lot of credit on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, look, man, he
Amazing.
TD worked for us for 3+4 years, worked his tail off for us, and was great to have around. I'm super happy for him. Just ran into him in Chicago, and he's doing his own thing. kind of doing it his way, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
hey,
awesome.
thank y'all for coming. We appreciate it and look forward to all your successes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Matt.
Enjoy the podcast? We would love your feedback about today's show and who you think should be our next guest. Send us an email at info@eapla.com. Also, be sure to share the show and leave a comment on our social media post.